Good evening, Beruchim Habayim Rabotai. Welcome to another edition of our Thursday night's class. Tonight's class is sponsored the Refuah Shlema of Daniel ben Rosa Shoshana. HaKadosh Baruch Hu send all his problems to Sonei Israel, and he should be happy, healthy, and wealthy his whole life. Amen v'amen. Parashat Korach. The first Rashi on Parashat Korach is probably one of the more famous Rashis in the whole Torah, maybe even the whole Tanakh. Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kahat ben Levi v'Datan v'Aviram b'nei Eliyav v'on ben Pelet b'nei Reuven. That's what the pasuk says. Korach Vayikach, he took. We'll discuss soon what that means. What did he take? The son of Yitzhar, which was the son of Kehat, which was the son of Levi, and then it goes on to other people. Datan v'Aviram b'nei Eliyav and on ben Pelet. Vayikach Korach, Rashi writes, Parasha zu Yafeh Nidreshet b'Midrash Rabbi Tanchuma. This parasha is very nicely explained in the Rash in the Midrash Tanchuma. That's a very interesting Rashi, because if Rashi thought it was important to tell us what to learn from it, so he should have said what it says there. And if not, just to give us a source, it's being Doresh Yafeh in this place, it's a little bit out of character for the general way Rashi goes about things. And maybe at the end of the night we'll come up with an answer for this. Vayikach is milashon mekach. Mekach means an acquisition. He acquired something. What did Korach acquire? Comes to Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Kuftet Amud Bet and says Vayikach Korach. What did he acquire? Amar Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish says Shelakach mekach ra leatzmo. That he made a bad deal for himself. He made a bad choice. His pick of what he bought was a bad choice. Like a lot of the youngsters that got excited about buying Bitcoin a while ago and I warned you not to do it. I think now you'll all agree. Right? It's recorded. Look, 6 months back in the shiur when I said be aware, you're going to lose your money. I think today we see clearly, Shelakach mekach ra la'atzmo. That's, sometimes you have to listen to others that might know a little more and not to make reckless choices. But what was this mekach ra? What was this mekach ra? First of all, what was it? Second of all, who did he buy it from? If I tell you I bought something today for $5, that means I went somewhere or somebody delivered to me or whatever, but there was a seller and I'm the buyer and I acquired. Who did he acquire from? So number one, what did he acquire? Number two, who did he acquire from? That we have to understand in the Gemara. So, Rabbi Yosef Chaimi Baghdad Zitzal, the Baal Ben Ishchai, in his Sefer Od Yosef Chai, says a very interesting remez, a hint. It's not a pshat, but it's a nice, sweet way to start a shiur. He says, what's it considered an acquisition and who acquires? This is the ones that acquire the most things, normally, are the wealthy, because the middle class or the poor don't have available funds to randomly buy things. If I offered you today a phenomenal property for a very, very cheap price, but I need a closing by tomorrow morning, you don't have liquid, it's not going to help you, because by the time you get financing, you won't be able to buy it. So those who have more liquid money, that are called ashirim, rich people, so they have the opportunity to acquire more things at a quicker pace. Comes Rabbi Yosef Chaim, and Od Yosef Chaim writes an unbelievable thing. He says, let's take the word ashir. Ashir in Hebrew spelled ayin, shin, yud, reish. Right? That's the way you spell ashir. Because now let's take the word apart. The middle two letters are shin, yud. Shin, yud, what does it resemble when it comes to the Torah Akdosha? So there's a pasuk in Mishlei in Perek Chet pasuk Chaf Aleph that the pasuk says le'anchil le'ohavai yesh. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give those that love Him, yesh. Yesh really means something that exists. What is yesh? So the Gemara learns out of that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has saved for each righteous person Shai Olamot, 310 worlds, special for the tzaddikim that they're going to obtain in Olam Haba. So yesh, the words shai or yesh, shai means a gift, literally by the way, and yesh resembles in Tanakh and in the Gemara something that's a spiritual benefit, which is considered a very high level of a gift that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives the righteous. The other two letters that are left, We took out the shin and the yud. So we're left with the ayin, the first letter, and the resh, the last letter. Ayin resh goes two ways. It's a word, Lashon HaKodesh, that you could use it both ways, the letters. If you use it ayin resh, it means er, to be awake. If you're conscious of what you're doing. If you don't use it as er, it turns around, it flips over, and it becomes ra, bad. Bar Minan, we should never know. Comes Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim and says like this. He says, an ashir, somebody who HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him wealth, so he warns him like this. If you're going to be if you'll be awake to what you do with your money, so then it'll be shy. You'll get shy olamot in olam haba. You'll merit the great levels in Gan Eden and the schus of what you do with your money. But if you're not going to be if you won't be awake with what you do with your money, then exactly what you think is a gift from God, that you have wealth, is going to be ra, is going to turn into the worst thing for you. As it says in Kohelet in Perek Hey Pasuk Yud Bet, that there's an osher shamur liba'alav lira'ato. There is wealth that is reserved for its owners that works against him, for his bad, that works against him. What does that mean? Comes the Ben Ish Chai and says, in Od Yosef Chai, even a bigger chidush, takes it a step further. He makes an interesting observation in the pasuk. He says, there is osher. Today the world at large is very wealthy. Maybe the single individual doesn't realize it, but the amount of millionaires and billionaires that exist in the world, I don't know if there was ever such a thing in history, definitely not in the last 1,000 years, that there was such numbers of wealth in the world, including by very young kids, 25, 30-year-olds that you hear that made astronomical numbers of money very quickly. He says, so that's osher. He says, if it's shamur leba'alav, if the person keeps all the wealth for himself, shamur, watch, leba'alav for its owners, lira'ato, then he turned the awakening of what the wealth should do to him, into ra, into something that's going to harm him. But if he does he stays awake, then wait a second, this is a gift from Hashem, and he does something productive with his funds, so then it's not shamur leba'alav, that means he shares it with others. At that point, it's la'anchilo ava yesh, v'otzratehem amaleh, that they get great reward for what they do. Comes the Od Yosef Chai and writes based on this, unbelievable. He says, Korach was a wealthy man. Not only was we have a misconception, for some reason, that we view, when we hear the word Korach, we associate it with a bad guy. And the reason why we associate it with a bad guy is because of the way the story tragically ended, that the ground swallowed him. And he lost his world in Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba, and caused a lot of damage to a lot of others as well. But if we look deeper in the Torah, in the Psukim at the beginning, just the opposite. Korach was a leader in Am Yisrael. He was a huge Talmid Chacham. He was considered a Torah giant. He had a lot of greatness to him. How does somebody from such greatness fall into such a pitfall? Comes Od Yosef Chai and writes that Korach was stingy. He was a stingy person. And that was the beginning of his fall and everything. There's somebody that's a tsar ayin, it's called, that has a stingy eye, that doesn't see life in a generous way, that doesn't care about others, means that he utilizes the gifts that God gave him, litzorchei ha'olam hazeh, only for his spiritual use in this world, for his physical use in this world. And he doesn't invest his his materialistic things into converting them into something spiritual. And that's the ultimate thing of a tsar ayin. Really, why should somebody be stingy? If anything, just the opposite. People naturally should be very generous, because it's a very good feeling to be a giver. Forget about olam haba. Even in this world, it's a good feeling to be a giver. Somebody had a birthday. We'll use something very trivial and stupid. And you went and bought him a card and balloons for $10 and brought it to him and put a big smile on his face. Who feels better, him or you? You. Being a giver is something that's a very pleasant feeling. There's a lot of joy that comes along with it. So even in Olam Hazeh, even in this world, there's a great pleasure that a person derives from being a person like that. He says, but what is a tsar ayin, somebody who's stingy? A tsar ayin is a person who doesn't see beyond himself. He sees himself and his agenda and what's in it for me, and beyond that he doesn't see anything else. And when somebody's a tsar ayin, so at that point, he turns his yesh, what he has in Torah, into something that's counterproductive. not only doesn't it help him, it actually works against him. It's a pasuk in Mishlei Perek Chaf Chet, pasuk Chaf Bet. Nivhal lehon ish ra'ayin v'lo yada ki cheser yevoenu. A person's a ra'ayin, who's a stingy person, so he's nivhal lehon, he's always chasing his money. But v'lo yada, he doesn't realize ki cheser yevoenu, that alone is going to cause that he's going to be an empty person, he's going to have no meaning, nothing left in his life. But the Ben Ish Chai Kefi Darko, Yosef Chai writes the same pshat in this pasuk along the same lines. Nivhal lehon, somebody who gets scared to take out his money and to use it for tzorchei ha'olam haba, to do good deeds with it, because he's a tzar ayin, because he's a stingy person. So he doesn't know chesed yevoenu. He doesn't realize that they're going to take the letters yesh out of the ashir and they're going to leave him with a person who's a ra, and lo aleinu, he's going to end up in a tragic situation. We quoted many times in shiurim and Tikunei HaZohar and the Akdama. Shimon Bar Yochai writes that if you know somebody who's stingy, you should be aware that bevadai nishmato lav mibnei Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov. For sure, his neshama doesn't come from a Jewish source. For sure, his neshama doesn't come from a Jewish place. One of the few things that Maran HaChazon Ish Zitzal agreed to break shidduchim on was when one of the two parties involved complained about the other that they were a stingy person. And at that point, the Chazon Ish used to say, and it's known, it's written in all the Sfarim, run away. Why? He said, if the Zohar says that a person like that doesn't have a neshama, mipnei Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, then what's left? There's nothing left. Oy vavoy, there's nothing left. But we're not here on a charity campaign tonight. That's not our goal, even though every day I have a charity campaign, but that's not our goal tonight. We're here to take this idea and to go a lot deeper into the soul and the train of thought of what happened to Korach, and from what we can learn from it today, that we should avoid being in this situation. By the way, in Rav Yitzchak Yosef, the chief rabbi of Israel, in his large set of Sfarim, Yalkut Yosef, in one of the volumes, brings a little remez, and he brings in the name of the Khatam Sofer, and I'm saying it from there because I never saw in the Khatam Sofer myself. He says an interesting thing it's a little bit sidetracking, but it's good to know anyway. He says that how could it be that Korach, that was such a great person, fell into such a trap? So he says, of course, Chazal say because of jealousy, because of tzara'ai, and all different things that Bli Neder will explain soon. But he says, where did it all start from? Where did the pitfall start from? Because when something goes wrong in somebody's life, it normally starts from the first seed that was initially planted to make him in this world, or when he came to this world. Where was the initial mistake? So the Khatam Sofer says a very interesting thing. The Khatam Sofer says because he was named after Rasha. And when you give a person a name after Rasha, it's going to affect his neshama later on, and it's going to cause him to do bad things. What Rasha? So if you look in the Psukim in Breshit on the Alufei Esav, so one of them is Aluf Korach. One of the lineage of Esav, his name was Korach. And this Korach was named after that Korach. That's what Khatam Sofer writes. I don't know if he proves it, I didn't see it inside, but very interesting. He says, and already then, they planted the room for error for a person to go out l'tarbut ra'ah. And even though I strongly stress that we are very against this whole movement of people adding names and changing names and whatever, which unfortunately in this area became very common, because it's against the Torah's way. But in rare occasions, we encourage it strongly. And the time that we encourage it strongly is if a person has a name of a Rasha, then we encourage him to change his name. For example, and I don't care if this is politically correct or not, if somebody's name is Herzl, and then of course he has to change his name right away. He was named that. In Israel they name kids Nimrod. Nimrod was somebody who rebelled against God. Bar Minan, how can you name a child Nimrod? It would be better to name a monkey. That would be a lot better. Name a child Nimrod. If somebody's name is Nimrod, so al pi halacha, we change his name right away. There's no doubt about it. In other cases, unless it's a Gdol Torah, and the only Gdol Torah that today probably says such things as Reb Chaim Kanievsky, obviously we wouldn't do such a thing. Reb Chaim has his own chidush that your name has to come from Tanakh. Okay, you have to understand what that means. But that's, by the way, an interesting point from the Khatam Sofer. But if you look in the Targum Unkelus on the Pasuk, and I want to give you a disclaimer with a little story. I don't know exactly when, but it was Tamuz, in the middle of Tamuz, 2 years ago approximately. I was in Israel, and one morning I went straight from the airport. I landed in the morning, and I took a cab to the Kotel to pray Shacharit. And when I got there, I don't know how many of you experienced this, but if you prayed Shacharit in the Kotel, I'm sure you did. It's not the easiest place to pray. You would think that the Kotel, Makom Kodesh HaKodashim, the place that Shekhinah doesn't move from, would be naturally you would connect to it the quickest and the easiest. When you go there to pray Shacharit, it's almost impossible to pray. Therefore, I normally try not to go there to pray Shacharit, only on Shabbat. Why? Because you have about 800 people that are raising money, hopefully for needs that they don't need, because I'd rather them be liars than know that there's 800 poor people that have to embarrass themselves to raise money. And they harass you the whole davening, and the second they pick up you're an American, forget about it. You won't be able to pray 2 words. Every second somebody else, and if you give them $1, then you get even more harassed. Well, give me 20, give me 50, give me 100, give me this, give me that. You try to daven, and it's a big avodat hamidot. So it's better to avoid the whole thing. And go in the afternoon when people don't harass you. But one morning I went, and I knew this problem. So I thought I would outsmart the system. So before I left New York, I stopped in the bank, and I took some money, and I got myself $500 in $5 bills. And I figured I'll leave it in my bag at a talit, and each guy who comes, let him take $5, and like this, I'll be able to pray and priest, and we'll give tzedakah at the same time. I didn't realize that causes a bigger problem. Because now they go telling each other, this guy has a wad of cash, you better go get money from him. So I dug myself my own grave. At the end of the davening, Hashem should forgive me, but I felt like I didn't daven. I was already up to here. So this is where I came from. And I was the whole time trying to control myself. I said, maybe Hashem doesn't even want you davening, He just wants you to work on your midot. One guy comes to me, and he tells me that he wants money. So I pointed to the money, and I was still in the middle of davening, at the end. And I said, take $5. He says, no, he wants 100. He's giving me an amount that he wants 100. So I was down to my last $5 or $10 there, so I knew even if he wanted to, he couldn't get 100 out of it. So I pointed again. He wants 100. So I thought, wait a minute, because I wanted to see what's going through his mind. I finished what I was saying, and I was allowed to talk at that point, al pi halacha. I took off my tefillin quickly, and I said, sir, I'm sure you know what goes on here, right? You look like you're pretty acquainted. If that's the case, then explain me. I'm not, I didn't tell you no. I said, take $5. But you see I'm davening, obviously something's going through your mind. And right now, for me to be Daniel L'Kav Zchut is a test that I'm going to fail. So at least, give me something. Give me something that I could help me judge you favorably. Normally Hashem sends you Musa at the time you need to get it most. So the guy turns to me and he says, I don't want charity. I want to sell you something. I said, business? At a kotel in the morning? I said, well, what do you want to sell me? Property in Jerusalem? I'm sorry, I can't afford it. So he says, no, I want to sell you a sefer. So he tells me, I want to sell you a sefer. So I told him, what sefer? He said, I just put out a sefer, and I want to sell it to you. I said, $100 for a sefer? That's a pretty expensive price. He says, no, really, it's $20 a volume I sell it for. But it's on Chamisha Chumshei Torah. I only put out 1 volume so far. The other 4 I plan on putting on one day. So I was going to take 100, and the other 4 I'll send you as I have them, or I'll give them to you as I print them. He wanted a cash advance. It's a known business today, cash advance. So I told him, $20 for a sefer you got, even though I don't know who you are and what your sefer is worth, and I'll make you a deal. I'm going back to the hotel tonight. You're going to give me your phone number. I'm going to look in your sefer. If I see a good vote that I like, I come back tomorrow, you tell me when you're going to be here, and I give you your other 80. I might even be in a generous mood and give you some interest on it. If the sefer doesn't talk to me, then you got your $20 for your sefer. He says, we got a deal. I took out $20 from my pocket, I gave it to him, he gave me a sefer. Here's the sefer. It's called Lachazot B'Noam Hashem. That night I looked in it. Hashem should forgive me for saying this, but I saw a few things. It looked very nice, but everything I knew. I said, okay, gathered a few things, big deal. And it sat on my desk in my office in the house, in the study in my house. literally from when I came home in Tamuz 2 years ago until now. Normally we clean up the Sfarim every Friday. For some reason that Sefer always stayed on the thing. I know what the reason is, because deep down I always said, maybe I should look a little further and give the Sefer a bigger chance. Today, after 2 years, I gave the Sefer a second chance. I don't know why it took so long. But I have thousands and thousands of Sfarim, Baruch Hashem, maybe that's why. And I'll tell you what, he's getting a check tomorrow. This guy collected, it's not his, but he collected a lot of great chidushim, and I want to give him credit and ask him for forgiveness. But his name is Rabbi Shlomo HaKohen from Yerushalayim. He wrote a Sefer Lachzot B'Noam Hashem. By now I'm going to go look tomorrow to see if he ended up putting out the other volumes, because if he did, I want them. And in this Sefer, he brings down a lot of interesting things, but a couple of them that stood out, and a lot of what I'm going to say tonight comes from here, and we got to give credit to where credit's due. Listen to this. He says that the Targum says, what's Vaikach Korach? Ve'itpalig Korach. And Korach separated. Meaning he caused the separation. Machloket. He said he doesn't understand. Why would Korach go argue with Moshe Rabbeinu? His life was good. Normally, who makes arguments and riots and messes? People who their life are miserable. Somebody whose life is good doesn't go rioting. Right? If your life is good and you're happy and you have everything, you're going to go rioting? Nobody's such an idealist today. Korach had the perfect life. He had a job. He was a leader in the Jewish nation. He was rich. He had a family. He had everything. He had a maid. And you are going now to go fight with Moshe Rabbeinu. You have nothing better to do with yourself. Be happy with what you have and goodbye. It's not like you're lacking anything. He was a Levi. The Leviim were Nosei Aaron. Even more prestigious job. He carried the Aaron Hashem. More than that, he was well connected. Sometimes you have a guy who he on his own maybe didn't do so much productive in his life. But he has a brother who's a big doctor. So when you talk to him, he always sticks his brother into the conversation, even though it has nothing to do with anything. But that's his pride. My brother is this. Korach would exactly fit that bill. He had one cousin that was a Kohen Gadol, Aaron. He had another cousin that was the king of Klal Yisrael. He had everything working for him. So the family was there. His personal family was there. His wealth was there. His prestige was there. Everything was there. Why pick a fight with Moshe Rabbeinu? So he quotes here from a very famous speaker in Israel, a rabbi, big Talmid Chacham from Bnei Brak, Shlomo Levenstein Shlita, that he says that a person's challenge in life, Chazal describe very simply. Chazal say, Ein Adam met v'chatzi ta'avato biyado. A person doesn't die with half of what his desire having in his hands. Yesh lo maneh, if he has 100, let's say ma'atayim, he wants 200. Now that's not far-fetched at all. And we see today people that are worth billions and billions of dollars and they still go to work at 8:30 in the morning. Meshugana, you have enough money for you, your children, and your grandchildren forever and ever and ever and ever, no matter what lifestyle you choose to live. And so now go live life, go do something. Even if it's a goy. Go play golf all day, I don't know what, to work like a slave? Yesh lo maneh rotzeh ma'atayim. I once met, more than once, but one of my occasions, I met a guy, a very famous Chinese guy, who was a billionaire. I think he's rated about $15-16 billion. And when I met him, we were talking about wealth and poverty. I don't know, different interesting subjects came up. And I told him, I'm not rated in Forbes, but I just want to let you know that I'm under the radar in Forbes. I'm really a lot richer than you. So this guy was excited. He likes rich people. He's like, how'd you succeed to keep it under the radar? So I took my phone out, I went onto my app on my checking account, and I showed him there was $6 inside. So he tells me, you're richer than me? What richer than me? There's $6 over here. And he's already fantasizing that there's money in the Cayman Islands somewhere, I don't know what. So I told him, let me tell you, our Bible says that a person doesn't die with half of what he desires. You're worth 14, 15, 17 billion dollars, whatever you're worth. That means how much money are you missing? What's your negative in your bank? $17 billion. I'm worth $6. What's my negative in the bank? $6. So who's richer? This was an Ish Emet. I'm still in contact with this gentleman until this very day. And he looked at me and he says, you have no idea how true your Talmud is. He says, I came from nothing. I lived in a subway, he told me. And I came to great wealth through some technology company that he opened in China many years ago. And he says, you think I'm a happier person today? The chase for money makes me so crazy that the one child I have, I never see. I'm always working, flying, running, going, coming. No life, zero. Now, I'm not those who live naive and say it's good not to have money. No, it's good to have money, and Allah should be rich. But it's good not to be sick with money. But I had a Rosh Yeshiva, his name was Rav Simcha Shustel, Zechet Tzadik Livracha, the father of Shibadel Chaim Tovim, Rosh Yeshiva of Lakewood Yeshiva of David Shustel, who in a Sudash Lishit speech once asked a very, very simple question. He said, the Gemara knows math, right? That much we understand. Let's do the math. If you want 200 and you have 100, how much do you have? 50%. The Gemara says, Ein Adam met v'chatzi ta'avato biyado. Somebody won't die and half of what he wants does he have. Why? Because if he has 100, he wants 200. If you have if you want 200 and you have 100, you actually have exactly 50%. So what's the Gemara saying? Such an obvious question and such a famous chazal. Ein Adam, you're not going to die v'chatzi ta'avato biyado. What do you mean? Just the opposite. You have exactly half. Adam met v'chatzi ta'avato biyado. You'll die with half of what you want. This is what he asked over there, and he said over an answer. I think he said the answer from his Rebbe, Ab Shlomo Hayman, Zechet Tzadik Livracha, Zchutei Yagen Aleinu. He said, we have to ask another question on this Gemara. Why does the Gemara say, Ein Adam met v'chatzi ta'avato biyado? Half of his desire is in his hands. It should have said, Ein Adam met, the person doesn't die, v'chatzi mamono biyado, and half of the money he wants in his hands. And say, you know why? Because half you always have. But the Gemara is saying a different chidush. That the desire for the other thing is so much greater than the satisfaction of what you have from what you do have. So a person doesn't die v'chatzi ta'avato biyado, half his desire in his hands. But the actual money, he has half. Unbelievable pshat, so smart. The easiest way to understand it is sometimes somebody thinks, when I'm going to have this type of car, I'm going to be a happy person. And 48 hours later, he now wants a car that costs 3.5 times the amount of this one already. I should have got the next thing. You just got this. That's what the Gemara promises. Ein Adam met v'chatzi ta'avato biyado. If you're going to chase emptiness, you're going to always be at the same dead end. There's never going to be a point that you're going to say, I got it. You'll always be stuck in the same spot. Unbelievable pshat. If that's the case, comes from Shlomo Levenstein and he says that Itpalig Korach, what the Targum means to say, is instead of Korach looking at what he has, he viewed things as facts, as power, as fame, as whatever his agenda was. And as a result, his desire of what he wanted was so much greater because he was great. Dafka because he was rich, and Dafka because he was a Talmid Chacham, and Dafka because he was from the royal family, and he was a Levi, and had so much prestige in life, and Dafka because of all of the above. He felt missing so much more. I'll give you a tactical, practical example. If you have two guys that come to shul, and it shouldn't be this way, there's a tragedy that's like this, but this is the facts. They come every Shabbat morning to shul. One guy's a big donor to the synagogue. He gives a couple $100,000 a year to the shul. The other guy doesn't have money. Well, we should never know. So he tries his best. He gives $10 a month to the shul. And then the Gabbai is giving out aliyot. And there's some aliyah that's like a prestigious aliyah, Az Yashir. And he gives it to the poor guy. He doesn't give it to the rich guy. What's going to happen? It's going to be World War II. Now, let's imagine something else. He doesn't give it to either one. When the poor guy goes home, is he going to tell his wife, I didn't get Az Yashir today? No, why? Because he never expected it. When the rich guy goes home, he's going to say, I'm changing synagogues. What are they, crazy over there? I give them a couple $100,000 a year, they couldn't give me Az Yashir? Instead they just gave it to somebody else? That's the way it works. That's really the facts. What does that show? It's the Chatzi Ta'avato is not only in money. It's what a person expects being given even in what's considered spiritual. So he never has a level of any satisfaction of anything. When somebody learns a daf gemara, he's supposed to walk out happy. I learned a daf gemara, ashreinu. But if it's a person who's always thinking about what the other person's standard is, then he never has any satisfaction. Of course, he quits. Most boys, and this is a very harsh statement, that left the yeshiva world without really somewhere else smart to go to, is a direct result of the fact of that people instilled in their brain, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, whether it was purposely or not, that they have to be like. And the day the boy couldn't live up to the standards of being like, which was wrong and corrupt from the first place, so even though he was doing well, he gave up, because to him that wasn't worth anything anymore. That's where chatzit ta'avato is a very dangerous thing. That even in ruchaniyut, you don't have to be like anybody else, you have to be like you. If Hashem wanted you to be like him, he would have made one person, he would have not had to make two. The only place in Chazal that says something different is kinat sofrim tabeh chokhmah. Kinat sofrim means that if you learn, not jealousy to spite, if you learn that you could do better yourself, so then you'll gain knowledge. But beyond that, no. Korach went and looked, comes to Levenstein and says, at what he doesn't have. I'm not Moshe Rabbeinu. And that agenda of I'm not Moshe Rabbeinu went and took him to the point that he went to argue on the Gedol Hador. No. Ezi machloket l'shem shamayim. What's considered a machloket l'shem shamayim comes the Mishnah and says Shammai and Hillel. Shammai and Hillel argues in the entire Talmud, but they were best friends, and their children married each other. What's a machloket shelo l'shem shamayim? It's not for the right reasons. Korach va'adato. Korach and his people. Does that make sense to you? Korach didn't argue with his people, just the opposite. They rallied behind him. It should have said Korach and Moshe Rabbeinu. Why Korach va'adato? Machloket l'shem shamayim, Shammai and Hillel. Those are the two sides to the story. Machloket shelo l'shem shamayim, Korach va'adato and his people. What do you mean his people? He didn't argue with his people. His people are the ones who rallied against him. They gave their lives to him. They lost their lives over his agenda. What does this mean? So the answer to this is very simple. I saw in this sefer that I said. He quotes from the great Hasidic leader, Tzvi Hirsch Mizitcho, Zecher Tzadik Levacha Zchuto Yagen Aleinu. That he said a story that once one of his students came into him. His student was a big doctor, and he told him that he gives his whole life to help people and heal people and do whatever he could. And the only thing he gets back is people hating him and fighting with him, because they never feel he did enough. They always more and more and more. Doctors are a very abused breed in the U.S. In Israel, forget about it. It's Hashem Yirachem. And I'm not judging anybody. It's, when a patient's in pain, so to him, the doctor has to get him out of pain that second, and if he doesn't care to say anything anymore. So he came to this Rebbe and he told him, Rebbe, I'm quitting. I'm resigning. It's not worth it for me. All day long tzoros and that. I'm quitting. So the Rebbe said, well, what's going to be with all the lives you help? What's going to be with all the lives you save? Why would you quit? So he says, I can't handle the abuse. I can't handle the abuse. So he told him, I want to give you an example. And he took out a piece of rope, a gartel, what the Hasidim wear when they pray. That was on his table. And he gave him one end, and he held the other end. And he said, go to that side of the room, until... He said, stop pulling. And the Rebbe pulls from this side, and he pulls from that side. And they were both strong. So it was tug of war that there was no concession. After a minute, the Rebbe said, okay. And then he says, hold on to the rope. And the Rebbe just does one thing different. He puts his side of the gartel on the table. He says, pull. The guy pulls. In 3 seconds, it's all by him. He said, what changed? It's the same string. Before, I was going this way, you were going this way, and it was about to rip. Now, nothing. So you know what changed? That there was nobody on the other side to pull. He said, that's the Eitzah for life. He said, you want to know how to deal with people? It's very simple. When somebody goes and tells you something you don't like to hear, what's he trying to do? To get under your skin. If you pull back, meaning you let him get under your skin, so then we have a tug of war, and who's going to win? I don't know, but at the end it seems like they're winning and you're losing, and you want to quit your job. But if when somebody tells you something, you don't say anything, and there's nobody to fight with now, there's no other side to the story, there's nothing to pull. And then in 3 seconds, they're going to be so quiet. Unbelievable chidush. I was schmoozing on the phone with a friend of mine who's a doctor today, and he was telling me, so I told him, let me tell you a doctor story, and I told him this story. So he told me, I'm going to give you a real life story from my clinic. So I said, okay, let me hear. I said, this was also a real life story, but let me hear a modern day story. So he said that one day when he was in one of the hospitals, this was right when he started, he was still doing his residency in an ER somewhere. So he wasn't dealing with the highest class of crowd. And some patient came in with some self-inflicted wound, we'll call it, something that he caused himself. Hashem Yerachim. And he was trying to treat him, and he was fighting for the guy's life, and this. Finally, they stabilized the guy's situation, he was okay, and he got his strength back, he came back to his consciousness or whatever. And then he tells the doctor, but it hurts me. And what hurt him was the IV that they put in, the needle was a little bit uncomfortable for him. This guy was about to die, but now he's worried about his needle. So the doctor told him, I'm sorry, but we have to keep it in as long as you're here, because in case we have to draw more blood or do other tests or give you fluids or whatever. And I'll tell the nurse to come in a few minutes and to see what she could do. The guy got angry, and he's from his hospital bed. A few minutes earlier, he was in a life danger. And he punched the doctor. Punched the doctor. This guy's a frum Jew, dignified man. Today he's Bechlal, a very world-famous doctor, one of the most famous internists that exist. And he's shocked. This he didn't expect already. So he was so shocked that he didn't know how to respond. So first he jumped back to make sure he doesn't get another punch. But then he decided that he's not conceding to this guy's level. So I could have gotten him in trouble in 3 seconds. You report it, they arrest him, it's a no-brainer. The government protects medical personnel very strongly for these reasons. So he decided he's not doing that. He went over to the patient and he told him, I want to apologize to you. The guy just punched him. He wants to apologize to him. And this guy with his chutzpah says, yeah, you should. But let me see what you want to apologize to me about. So he says, I want to apologize to you that I couldn't live up to your expectations. You must have thought I could save your life and get you out of pain and get you home all in 90 seconds. That good I'm not. I hope one day maybe I'll be that good. It would really alleviate a lot of pain for people. So the guy froze, didn't say a word to him, but the guy still had to be there for almost a day afterwards for observation. And from what he heard from the staff and whatever, he wasn't already needed so much there. He was on best behavior the whole time. Just listen to the end of the story. Just 2 days later, this guy's already back on his feet with the whole gangster that he is. And he comes back into the ER. And he asks, he's looking for so-and-so, this doctor. And he overheard it. And he right away texts one of the nurses, say, I'm not working here, I don't know, I want nothing to do with this guy. So whatever they told him, you're not a patient, you're not let in. So he said, okay, I just want to leave him something. All right, leave him something, leave him something. So he said, what do you want to leave him? Takes out an envelope and he leaves it there. He says he was scared to open the envelope at all. So God knows he put anthrax in there, you never know with these guys. But he said the envelope wasn't such a thick envelope, he was able to see through it. And he sees stacks of bills. Now already opens it up. Opens up the envelope. Now I'm not talking about the legalities if a doctor's allowed to take it or not. I don't know what he did at the end, that part he didn't volunteer to tell me. And there's a little note, this guy barely was able to write English, and in his broken English he wrote, you changed my perspective on treating people in life. This is my little way of saying thank you. And he left him in there $2,500 cash as a gift. And we're not talking about somebody who was raised in the highest class society, to put it mildly. If you another, I don't want to elaborate because of the youngsters here on the reason why he was in the hospital in the first place, but it wasn't from doing mitzvot and maasim tovim, let's put it that way. He didn't learn too many hours or say too much Tehillim that day. That wasn't the issue. That's what the Rebbe told that doctor. He said, when you want to pull the rope the other way, what's going to be? If you want to let it go, there's no place. Comes the Mishnah and says, what's a machloket shalol l'shem shamayim? When you see that somebody's coming to argue with you, and the reason why they're arguing is for the sake of arguing, and meaning the agenda is not pure, Korach v'adato, don't be a second side to the story. Stay far away from people like that. Not to the good, not to the bad. Don't try and prove you're right. Don't argue. Just stay away. Because the truth seeker will find the truth without you. And a non-truth seeker won't find the truth either way. Shammai and Hillel, they were looking for the emet. So machloket l'shem Shammai is Shammai and Hillel. There was two sides because they were looking for the truth. Korach, they wasn't looking for the truth anyway at that point. Let it go. Forget about it. There's no reason to make any mention of it. There's an unbelievable thing from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter says, how could it be that Korach fell into this trap of being jealous of Moshe Rabbeinu and as a result lost his Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba? And Rabbi Yisrael, in the same sentence that he asked the question, says the fact that it's even a question shows how far we are from understanding Torah. Because the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avot, Perek Dal, Mishnah Chaf Aleph, Hakina, jealousy, V'atava, and desire, V'akavod, and honor, Motziim et ha'adam min ha'olam. They take the person out of the world. So Rabbi Yisrael makes a very simple diuk. Why Motziim et ha'adam min ha'olam? It should have said Motziim et adam min ha'olam. Why ha'adam? It's an extra hey. Hey in Lashon HaKodesh is hey ha'yediyah. He says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Mishnah taught Am Yisrael lidorot. Even if you're the greatest person, ha'adam, the top person, be aware that when it comes to these three things, kinah, ta'ava, and kavod, even you can fall into that trap. And if you don't take huge preventive mechanisms not to fall into that trap, then the end becomes korach v'adato. As it says in the Zohar HaKadosh, that why were the Nisiyei Yisrael chasing this agenda against Moshe Rabbeinu? Because they knew that if they'll go into Israel, they won't be Nisiim anymore. And they wanted to keep their position. How many times do we have shuls that used to have one type of crowd, but then the years went by, and now the youth is coming closer to Hashem, and it's a bunch of youngsters in the shul. And they need a rabbi that speaks their language, that knows what they're going through, that's more their style. And we gently go to the senior rabbi and tell him, Chacham, we're not pushing you away. We want to split it into two minyanim, make the youth minyan and make your minyan. Because each person needs his medicine, what he needs. And he gets all insulted and bent out of shape. And he's not a bad guy, that rabbi, he's a tzaddik. Ha'adam, even the great tzaddik could fall into the trap of kinat, tava, and kavod. Even the greatest person, there's nobody who can't fall into that trap. And so what's the eitzah? What's the solution to stay away from it? The eitzah is to go to the opposite extreme. The Rambam writes, when you have a tree that's crooked this way, if you want to make it straight, it's not enough to tie it straight, it won't stay straight. You have to tie it this way. And then after a while, you let it loose and it'll end up being straight. Being that kinat, tava, and kavod are such big dangers, a person has to literally go to the opposite extreme, to run away from these things. To completely run away from these things. And honestly, jealousy is the greatest pitfall that anybody falls into in life. And because people don't do it purposely. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be jealous. Even a Meshuggah doesn't do that. There's no such thing. It's a subconscious instinct that a human has that sees something else and we want to be jealous. And for that, a person has to program his brain countless times a day that what's mine is mine, and nothing that's supposed to be mine is ever going to be mine, that's not supposed to be mine is ever going to be mine, and whatever I have is because Hashem decided on Rosh Hashanah that it's going to be mine, and that's where it starts and that's where it ends. And what's going on by the other person doesn't make a difference. When I come to shul on Shabbat and the guys are talking sometimes, and they tell me, why didn't you come to this and this event this week? You know what a beautiful party you threw? I tell them, honestly, I don't want to hear about it. So I say, why? I say, what am I going to gain by hearing about the beautiful party? Is it going to impress me that he took everybody's eyes out? No, it's going to make me want to puke. So what am I going to possibly gain? So there's only two things that could happen. I can either get jealous in theory, and then I fell into the pitfall of kinah, or that I could be like, oh wow, that guy has money like that, and now I just caused him damage with ayin hara. So what am I going to gain by it? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. We're always busy trying to find out what's going on by the other one. The first step to avoid jealousy is to make it a point not to know what's going on by somebody else. Doesn't make a difference. Who cares? To the good or the bad. If somebody needs your help, they'll approach you, or you'll be made aware of it. And there's enough people within your immediate circle that need your help, so you don't have to go looking for others. And to the good side. For what? What do you need it for? Tava, that each person has his own way to deal with. And kavod is the greatest tragedy, is the second to greatest tragedy. Everybody has this whole fantasy of how they want to be respected and what respect they deserve. And based on that, they live their life. My uncle, Rav Nisim Yagen, Zitzal Zchuto Yagen Aleinu, many great things he's done for me in his life. But if I had to pick one that was greater than all, I'm going to tell you the one. It was towards the end of his life. I think it was 7 months before he passed away. He was in and out of Sloan Kettering most of the time, in, once in a while out, and when he was out, he would come here to the shul. And one Shabbat, he was having a very good Shabbat, physically and relative to his circumstance, and after months of not being in shul Shabbat morning, he came to shul. I was a young boy, just got smicha, straight out of kollel, and when he came to shul, he saw that upstairs, then there was still only one minyan over here, I was sitting up front. Not because I went to sit up front, because they brought me to sit up front. Fine. He didn't say anything. My uncle never gave mussar right away. Didn't say a word. A couple of days later, when he was back in the hospital, he calls me and he says, I have to speak to you urgent. Come immediately to Manhattan. I was in Lakewood. I got scared. Who knows? I said, everything all right with you? Should I send the doctor? What you need? He says, everything's great. Come right now. I went to Manhattan. It took me over 2 hours to get there. I go up to his room and I'm waiting to hear the worst. And he sits me down and he tells me, listen, I have no way to know how much longer I'm going to live. If Hashem makes me a nez, I'll live till 120. If not, I might even go today. I have no way to know. And I'm scared that I won't get a chance to tell this to you. And in Olam HaEmet, after 120, they're going to come after me for not telling it to you. He says, I want you to give me a promise that you will never sit up front in a shul again. You will always sit in the back row. So I said, gladly, but could you at least explain me why? He said, so it doesn't get to your head. He says, you know why all these people give these crazy piskei halacha that make no sense, and give these classes on kashrut that make even less sense, and all this other nonsense that we've seen in the last few weeks going on? Because it got to their head. They sit up front. They think, I'm great. And then he told me another thing. I was raised in an Israeli yeshiva most of my life, Kol Torah, by Shlomo Zalman, and later on by Schlesinger, Shibadel Chaim Tovim. And in Israel, the custom is when you get married, so for Shabbat and holidays, you put on one of those long jackets with the 2 buttons on the back. I call them the hazard lights. We call it a frock. And when I got married, because my yeshiva demanded so I will put one of those on too. He says, I want you to take your frock and to shred it. And never wear it again. No matter what. It's out of the question. And then he told me one more comment. He said, thank God you don't have a beard, because if you would, I would have to make you shave too. I said, listen, that's what was important to bring me. You couldn't tell that to me on the phone. He says, no, because I see even now you're not taking me seriously. Then he sticks out his hand, he says, make a shvuah b'tkiyat kaf. Swear to me on God's name that you're going to stick to it. So I told him, what happens when I travel different places and they tell me sit up front? So I told him, so he tells me, what happens if you traveled somewhere else and they gave you bleach to drink? And that's all he was willing to answer. He wasn't willing to say one more word. Oy, kama gadol divrei chachamim. How great was that eitzah? You don't convince yourself you are or you're not. You could stay a colorful guy, everything's simple. You don't live in fantasy. You don't live in fantasy. There's a lot of depth to that, a lot of depth. Now, I'm not saying, of course, Talmidei Chachamim Gedolim should be respected, and we on our own should put them on the highest pedestal in the world. That goes without saying. But We have to know the chiluk between youngsters and ziknei ador. And people have shimush chachamim for years and years, and people that barely went to yeshiva high schools. What an eitzah from an Adam Gadol. People that are successful in life are those that are not chasing the honor and the fame. We see it over and over again. All those that chase the honor and the fame, at one point it caught up with them, and not in a good way. Caught up with them, not in a good way. I don't want to give examples because it's a sensitive week with all these things going on in the world, and all these summits and peace and global peace, and they almost made it sound like gold is going to grow on the trees suddenly. My tree didn't grow any this week yet. But halavai, honestly, halavai, the world should be less nuclear. It would be a good thing for the world. But when fame gets to a person, at that point it gets very dangerous. Because then it's I said, you said that. And that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ein ani v'hu yacholim ladu b'bayit echad. Somebody who says, I said, I can't live with him in the same place. Comes up Chaim Kanievsky and says an interesting thing. He says, in this parasha, we have another lesson. We have a lesson of how a person has to be willing to accept advice from others, especially a spouse, when it comes to avoiding conflict. Chaim Maitzis is an eitzah. Because a lot of times guys get high-tempered very quickly. Get upset very quickly. And his wife tells him, honey, it's okay, the world didn't come to an end, it's all right. He doesn't want to hear it, because at that point he's enraged. He says, who's the only one that was saved from the story? Like Korach, on Korach's side. On ben Pelet. How did On ben Pelet get saved? Chazal say, Ishto hitzilato, his wife saved him. How did his wife save him? So first he tried to rationalize with him. He said, listen, what are you fighting for? If Korach's right, he's going to be the leader. If Moshe is right, he's going to be the leader. You either way got nothing. So why would you go fight for something that you get nothing out of anyway? Makes no sense. Problem is, when somebody has an agenda, then you know our rule, don't confuse me with the facts. I'm an advocate. Today we have advocates for everything. The only thing that we need is advocacy against advocacy, finally. Don't confuse me with the facts. I don't care about the truth. Truth doesn't make a difference. What did she do at that point? She saw there was nobody to rationalize with. Chazal say, she gave him some wine. Wine does wonders. And he fell asleep. Solved the problem that way. And then what? And listen to what comes out of this Chazal. This is a pellet. She sat on the front steps, right? Every child knows this Chazal. She took her hair covering off. And that was it. And then what? They came to pick him up as part of the group, and they saw a woman that her hair wasn't covered, so they couldn't come to the door of the house. And like this, the time went by and he was saved. By the time he woke up, the story was over. On ben Pelet ishto itzido. That's how she saved him. Let's make an observation that my uncle of Nissim Zitzal made, and many others from him before made as well. Look what Torah giants we're talking about. We're talking about people that wouldn't come to a house of somebody else because his wife didn't cover her hair. They were fanatic extremists. They were as right-wing as you could get. And the same people went to fight with Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the power of kavod. That's the power of jealousy. That you could be holding on the highest spiritual level, and in 3 seconds everything goes down the drain. And that's why, we have to go, like the Rambam says, to the opposite extreme to run away from this. Comes up Chaim and says an unbelievable thing. Chaim says, it's nogea in halakha, by the way, in many places, that honey is considered something that turns whatever goes into it into its own element. It's nogea in Chot Shchatzim, if a sheretz fell into a big bowl of honey, the honey's still kosher. It's nogea in a lot of places. For example, you can look Shulchan Aruch Yoreh De'ah, you could look in Pei Daled, you could look in the Shach over there, it's Nogea many places. So Reb Chaim says an unbelievable thing. He says, Isha, a woman, Aleph, 1, Shin, 3, 301, Hey, 5 more, 306. Is Gematria, Dvash. Shin, 300, Bet, 2, 302, Daled, 4, 306. Now you got the source of why we call our wives honey. You never knew that, huh? You learned something new tonight. Where did it come from, honey? Isha is Gematria Dvash. It's Reb Chaim Kanievsky, not me. He didn't say the honey part. But the rest of it, Reb Chaim says the Chidush. He says, why? He says, because Dvash has a power, al pi halacha. I don't know the science behind it. I'm not here to argue science tonight. But al pi halacha, Dvash has the power to halachically make something, which is even a sheretz, considered part of it, and to keep it considered something kosher. And he says, it comes to Reb Chaim, and he says, that's a special power that was only given to women in Klal Yisrael, that they could take a husband or a son or somebody, a father, and even if he's begeder rasha gamur in the worst situation in life, to turn him around into the highest spiritual level that's possible. And of course, he brings us a raya, this chazal that we just quoted, Gemara Sanhedrin Kuf Yud Amud Aleph, that chokhmat nashim banta beita, the wisdom of a woman was to build a house. Zu ishto shel On ben Pelet. That's the wife of On ben Pelet that saved him. V'ivelet biyadat tehalsena, and a witch with her own hands will destroy her household. Zu ishto shel Korach. That's the wife of Korach. Korach's wife was the instigator of this whole story. Talit shekulat chelet wasn't Korach's question, it was Korach's wife's question, if you look good in Chazal. Bait maleh sfarim wasn't Korach's question, it was Korach's wife's question. She instigated the whole thing. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we learn a bunch of lessons over here. But the first lesson we learn is the importance of running away from anything to do with kavod and kina and tava. And if a person does that, then automatically you stay away from machloket. And this we spoke about in previous years. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz. In this sefer he brings it down b'shem somebody else, but b'mchilat kodo, it's a mistake. I heard the recording from Reb Chaim himself, and he said it about himself. Reb Chaim Shmulevitz said that he was once standing in Yerushalayim waiting for a bus to go somewhere. He didn't say where. And they were picking up the garbage exactly then. And it seems like the way they picked up the garbage back then wasn't sophisticated like today with all these robotic ways of lifting up garbage cans. There was a guy that stood in the back, and a guy was the driver. The driver would drive up to where the cans are, and the guy in the back would jump off, take the cans, turn them over, and the old-fashioned way. I think in Queens still today they do it like that. He says he was standing in a bus stop. There was a garbage can right near there, and the garbage truck came. This guy jumps off, takes the garbage can, and he sees Reb Chaim Shmulevitz. This guy was a Jew. He sees Reb Chaim Shmulevitz. He knew who Reb Chaim Shmulevitz was, the great Rosh Yeshiva. And he turns to Reb Chaim Shmulevitz and says, Rebbe, al tistakel alai kacha. Don't look at me like this. Nachon hayom ani omed ma'achora. It's true that today I'm standing in the back. Aval machar ani yeshev lemala mikadima. But tomorrow I'm going to be the one sitting in the front. And Reb Chaim came to the yeshiva that day, and when he spoke, he said over the story. And in tears, you could hear it in the recording, the tears, the way he's choking on his voice. And he says, look how dangerous kavod is. Even to the garbage guy it got to. Even in his little world of garbage, it still got to him. Today I'm standing in the back, but tomorrow I'm going to be the driver. That's how far it goes, and that's how much a person has to be careful and cautious when it comes to dealing with kavod. And now comes the inyan of machloket. The outcome of this was a machloket. Machloket eats everybody and doesn't leave anybody okay. And this is what I didn't realize how late it is. I want to end off with this thought. From machloket, whether you're right or you're wrong, you will lose no matter what. Whether it's l'shem shamayim, not l'shem shamayim. Today there is no machloket l'shem shamayim. I saw in many Sfarim HaKadoshim, if you look good, there's a sefer called Tnuat HaMusar, I think it's 5 volumes. Over there he brings down many sources to this. The reason why it says Ezi machloket l'shem shamayim, zeh shamay v'hilel, is to tell you the last time there was machloket l'shem shamayim was Beit Shamayim, Beit Hillel. Since then, l'shem shamayim died out. There's agendas. power, fame, money, this, that, control. Shem Shamayim doesn't exist over here anymore. And from machloket, everybody gets hurt. There's nobody who comes out clean, whether you're right or you're wrong. I'm going to say over a story. Mishum Kvodam of these rabbis, that the last of the four passed away recently. I'm not going to say the names, even though in previous years and other locations I said the names. But when one of the previous Rashi Yeshiva and Chevron Yeshiva passed away, I'm talking about 2 generations ago, so there was the one who took over. And when the young Rosh Yeshiva took over, there were 4 students that were considered the geniuses of the yeshiva, great, great, great geniuses in Torah, that felt that this guy wasn't worthy for the job. Not because they had anything against him. They just felt he was too young. He should wait a few years, and then he was very young. And the first day that this Rosh Yeshiva came to say shiur, they went into the shiur, and they threw tomatoes at him. Hard to believe such a thing, no? Unfortunately, though, Elena, we've seen it recently in many yeshivot. And I heard this from one of these 4 Rashi Yeshivot which recently passed away. He said it was me, and he told me the other 3 names of the people. And he said, none of us walked away clean from that day. He said, I never had children. One of the other 4 died when he was 36 from a terrible disease. The third guy had 1 child that died in his life and then fell into a terrible depression, which later on caused him a heart attack. And the 4th guy never got married, and he was an Aridi until 120. He said, because from Achloket, he says, and you want to know something? We were right. That person should have not been a Rosh Yeshiva. But it doesn't make a difference. From Achloket, you don't win. From Achloket, you lose. And that goes with Reb Chaim's Yisod of certain things in life. Hashem doesn't punish you with Aveira, mitzvah, punishment. No. It's fire. Fire, you get burnt. If you stuck your hand into a fire now, you didn't get punished. Happens to be that fire burns. What should we do? So you got burnt. It's from Achloket, all parties involved end up getting burnt. And that's like the Leisel stayed away from Achloket like it was. And you might say, what do you mean? It seems like Rav Shach had disagreements with others and this and that. It was never Machloket. Shach voiced his opinion, and certain ashkafot are not his ashkafa, and if you want to go by him, you should stay away from these type of things. He never instigated a fight, he never argued, just the opposite. And immediately after the situation that he had to do the one time in his life that we're referring to without elaborating, he went the opposite extreme and made sure to make a big achdus in Klal Yisrael. And the list went on, and the list goes on, and all the... Most of us don't even know that the Vilna Gaon wanted to put the Baal Shem Tov and Cherem. They had a pretty big fight back then, lichora, but it wasn't. It was machloket l'shem shamayim. It was no machloket. They disagreed in a way in Avodat Hashem. Today, there's no Litvish yeshiva that doesn't learn Chassidut, and there's no Chassidish yeshiva that doesn't learn Gemara, and hand in hand. So 100% l'shem shamayim. Guess what? Ovadia Yosef, until very few years ago, the majority of the Sephardic Bnei Torah didn't consider him Maran. This whole Maran thing happened only the last few years of his life. But he went to Shem Shamayim. And even though in Halacha, many disagree with him until today, and they have the right to, Torah, each person could say, each person on that level, and Gdolei Olam like that. I'm not talking about the kids today that think that they can argue on Avodah. But it was pure. And what happened at the end of his life? The whole Klal Yisrael rallied around him. The majority of the people by his funeral weren't even Sephardic. Interesting. The majority weren't even Sephardic. Chassidim, religious, not religious, every type. Litvish yeshivas all closed down. But wait a second, wasn't this the rabbi that you didn't agree with his idea? What's the answer? They didn't have machloket. And that's why truth came out of it, and Torah came out of it, and beauty came out of it. But when today they're fighting over buildings and properties and this, and who's going to be the rabbi and who's not going to be it, that's machloket. That nothing comes out of. It's okay to disagree, but we have to agree to disagree. I'm not saying everybody should be robots. I don't believe in that. I think each person should have his own personality and think his own ways, and it makes no difference what anybody thinks. You should be proud of what you believe, especially if you can source it and prove it. But from there, you have to agree to disagree with others. They have their way. They have their way. One of the things that was very touching to me at the end of Rav Ovadia's life, towards the end of Rav Ovadia's life, was to see him go to one of the Belzer Rebbe's grandchildren's weddings. I had the zchut to be there live. And to see how he walks in, and the Belzer Rebbe stands up for him and gives him kavod gadol, and then the Belzer Rebbe tells one of the people to tell the band to play Sephardi songs, because the Sephardi rabbi came, so he should at least enjoy the music. And they played Ashor Ashira Chalati. You can find it on YouTube. They play different Sephardi songs for him. Here you got a Hasidic leader with probably 100,000 followers. Here you got a Sephardic leader with, I don't know, probably also a couple 100,000 followers. And I'm sure on day-to-day halakha they do things very differently. Whether it's because of their customs or because of their beliefs in halakha, or because of everything. But they had a mutual respect. So we saw things differently, but we're not in machloket. Many times in one family, there's brothers and sisters that do things differently. One brother's a little more colorful, the other one's a little more black and white. One sister's a little more secular, the other one was brainwashed in some seminary in Israel. Al zeh haderech. Now this one comes home from seminary, and she starts preaching. You can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't do it. Who are you to judge the... What? You do your way, and she'll do her way, and everything will be fine. And then they turn their own sibling into a case. I have to be makarev my brother. When people ask me how to be makarev their brother, I tell them 2 words: bug off. Let them live, and you live, and then you'll be friends, and one day each one will find his way in life. Some people it takes a day, some people it takes a year, some people it takes a lot more than that. Et achai anochi mevakesh. My brothers I ask, meaning I want them as brothers. It doesn't say I'm asking for my brothers to turn them around and make them into what they're not. I want them to be my brothers. That comes first. After that, we'll see what else is the outcome of it. What else is the puzzle's going to feel. Because Baruch Hu should help. We should always stay away from machloket, and we should always run from kavod as far as we can in any way, shape, and form. And that's chus bevadei ubevadei. We'll have a long, happy life. B'simcha gdola v'nachat v'simcha v'ratzon. Amen v'amen.